So thank you all for attending, and I'm going to teach again more about the virus. As long as we have it, I'll help you through this process. But there are a lot of things that are causal, things that cause how we deal with life. Yeah, life is hard and then you die. That's the rule. And it's the best way to look at life. Yeah, it's not about why didn't I get my way? Why didn't I get what I needed? How come life doesn't get better? You know, it just is what it is. And it's all about how we deal with it. Yeah, and then once we've come to grips with that, once we are able to be still empathetic and compassionate and of higher mind, and while we're under stress, while we're in the middle of dying, while we've got terrible things going on, if we can still lift ourselves up to higher mind and not take on the delusion of thinking you know what causes it. Yeah, because it's not what causes it. It's your own record, your own identity as to why it is going on the way it is. But it's a bigger picture. And once we get to a place individually, as we get to a place to where we can deal with life and deal with it with higher mind, which means appreciation, even if it's little tiny bits. And then that appreciation, it turns into a virtue. Yeah, it is a magical event, and you have no idea that you have these auspicious powers of levity, an element that we really don't have on the elemental table. But it exists, and we're missing it. Yeah, and it's called levity or levitron. And the principle of it is in every master when they talk and they help to share how to deal with things. They jokingly say, lighten up. They jokingly say, take it easy. They jokingly say, you need to deal with it with humor, yeah, with a sense of humor, yeah. And that sense of humor is an element that's located in all things, whether it be a plant or an animal or a vegetable. It's in all things, and it's the element that initiates life itself. But when we're depressed, when we're thinking in lower mind, we don't sense that element. That's the one element we're missing. We don't sense it. Therefore, it's not on the elemental table. It's not of any understanding that it exists, and yet it has a name that implies levitation. It implies levity. It implies something, and it means something, and we don't know what it means, but it's an element that we have within ourselves, and it's in everything. And once we grow as an initiate, and we are able to do things in society that are lifting society up, it's done through the element of levity, levitation, levitron, the element of seeing a difficult situation and making it easier. So in the human form, or even the animal form, or even the vegetable form, things give of themselves in order to allow other things to live. And quite often we genetically mutate in order to shift our way of being to be more supportive to the environment and support the ecosystem of the environment. It's an automatic nurturing process that happens in life. And we're kind of unaware of these things. It's a subconscious, constant, ongoing existence, but it's not something that we're taught about. It's not something that we're aware of. And it's part of the reason why we should have faith, is because the elements of everything work in order to create cooperation amongst all the species, amongst all the kingdoms. And each one survives off the other. It is It's not doggy dog, and it's not, I'm bigger than you, therefore I'll eat you. Yeah, it's life, and all of life supports the elements and the digestive qualities of absorbing other elements and bringing them into our system. And then once they're in there, these groups of elements are spurred on by the element of life, God's energy. And that tells these things what to do, where to go, how to make manifest what their next life cycle is to be, how it's to be manifested. So whether or not you are dirt, or you're a seed, or you're insect, or you're a big old animal, there is a coexisting ecosystem that we grew from. We all coexist in this process, and it's subconscious, and in it there's a joy in the giving up of form. And we don't know what this means, but it really is a joy. It's part of life, And you think, where would that come? How could there be joy to what we call death? And it's really never death. It's always transfiguration. And so whether or not we're going from a seed to a tree to a fruit, and then drop onto the ground and become a seed and a tree and a fruit, we still need all the other elements to make that seed start to grow. And then it needs everything else from that. But if it didn't have the parasites that is trying to kill it, is trying to keep it from growing, and all of its nutrients that fall off from that, in the end, the final product is what it takes in the byproduct of everything eating everything. And once everything is brought through this recycling process, this natural process of ecosystem, then we have life, and that's normal. But we're very intellectual, doubting mind, suspicious creatures. So we don't see it this way. And then we get all freaked out and in control of things with great pride, and the greatest of prides are the people who think they're so clear-minded in who they are. They really feel that they're in control of the dietary process. And so you could be vegetarian, and all of a sudden your belief system is that I can't include animal into my diet because its vibration is too low, or I cannot make myself kill an animal. I can't sacrifice an animal for my own life. These are all intellectual, fear-based, lower animal aspects, not higher animal aspects. The quality that everything lives by, every single thing lives by, the process of life. And life is both death and life and regeneration. It's all of that. So, but we have a tendency to break things up, to simplify things and categorize things, and then we can go, oh well, I'm going to be vegetarian because I'm religious, and some aspect of God says I have to not eat animals, and another one says you can eat all the animals you want but don't eat pig, and another one says this and that, and they all say these things that have a bias, for a reasoning, a lower mind, intellectual bias. And it's not at all based on the truth. Just look around you. Everything is so intuitive and natural. So in human form, we really don't know how to fix the disease. We don't know how to fix the elemental disfiguration. So in a spiritual side, we look at food as prasadam. And even higher spiritual side, we look at life as prasadam. The very existence. You wake up, you took a breath, you're alive, you're still alive. That's prasadam. You're using the elements of air, you're using the elements of water, you're using these elements, and they need to keep your body alive. the breathing, everything is there in order to keep you alive. And that part of your being alive is provided. Yeah, and we just don't have that connection. Yeah, and yet we are the higher species. We are the higher mind, and we could see this connection. And in order to heal everything we've got going on, we need to understand this connection. Yeah, so the connection has to do with caring and sharing. Yeah, it has to do with whether or not we're greedy or suspicious of other people or can't give and just walk by a little child sitting, leaning up against a wall, and with a cardboard box written on it, I am poor, help. Yeah, and people just walk by, just keep walking by. They barely ever look at this kid, and this goes on and on throughout every city, throughout every major area, and when people do look and do something, it's really not in the area of fixing it, yeah, because we're still stuck in this delusion of what we should be doing. What is the causal reality of what we should be doing? Yeah. So, in Buddhism, there is a belief system behind prasadam, and the influence of prasadam is the act of caring and sharing, giving and generosity. Yeah. So it's really hard to help people understand the definition of things when it's heart-based, because everybody's based in the solar plex, where you got to have a hamburger, you got to have a cigarette, you got to have a drink, all these things are how you get through life, is through your solar plex, your desire body, and fulfilling those desires, and the more the desires is personal, the dumber the desire. Yeah, it literally equates to your body is sick and your body is calling out for the things that make it sick, like sugar or alcohol or tobacco, and those things that you're now broken down and you're the weakest point in that. Your body literally draws you to get those things. Yeah, so your instincts is backwards. Your ability for common sense is gone. Yeah, and your this is deep. This goes all the way down to every cell in your body and to every electron and down to the elements. Yeah, all the elements, and each element has a consciousness to it. Yeah, it's like looking at flowers, and looking at species. Everything that you look at, it has a character to it. It has a life expression to it. A dog is not just a dog. Each dog is different. Yeah, but each dog has a life expression to it, and it makes relationships according to life expression. Yeah, so we don't know any of that stuff. Humanity is completely insensitive to the working of any kingdom, whether it be the mineral kingdom or the vegetable kingdom or the animal kingdom, any kingdom. Humanity is doing their best to try and figure it out on an intellectual level, but not on an intuitive level. On an intuitive level, it requires the teaching of a master that is way beyond all those things that you're trying to figure out, and you won't get past all your hooks and all your impurities that are locked up in you from previous lives. They're called curses. Yeah, and you can't get past those things unless you have a master who's past those things. Yeah, so that's why I talk of Jesus. Yeah, we all know the history of Jesus. We all know that he went on a cross, and according to everything, he died for everyone. He suffered all of his suffering, every whip, every thorn in the head, every nail in the hand, every single thing was a very specific microcosm, macrocosm suffering of a purely, completely innocent, holy being. Yeah, and using it as a physical body. So every living human being that has all the impurities running through its entire body, all the way from birth to death and all the suffering in between. That's what Jesus took on. Yeah, the ignorance of his mother and father, the ignorance of humanity, the process of coming in contact with Buddhism and his own self-awareness, and unable to share that openly, to people in Israel and other places. So it's really not a historical event, yet it is. The rest of 2/3 of the life of Jesus is based on what I just said. His experience with Buddhism and his recognition of living a long life, not a short life, but a long life, So it's that process of him having the ability as the Son of God to resurrect, and come back from the dead, And in that process, there was a quantum light field that took place, a transmission between matter and space and time, a quantum wave, And that quantum wave, that singularity point that manifested in Jesus' resurrection, was complete separation of life. Everything that was in the body of Jesus was gone. He disappeared. He no longer existed. And you could see that on the shroud. But then he reappears, and he reappears as the completely pure, once again, completely pure Jesus, the same as he was when he was first born, without all the impurities of taking on the curse of humanity and dying on the cross. That is all resurrected and gone from Jesus. Gone. It's not a part of his life. And for him living from that point on and existing and doing all the things is the reason why you should call upon Jesus, because he never dies. His spirit is resurrected, as in myself, I reincarnate, So all of that comes back with an ability to go beyond this mortal world, this process of all your habits and all your curses and all the people who curse you and everything. I have been there and left, completely gone, But now that I'm back, I am above all of that. I don't touch the ground and receive impurity. I don't eat and receive impurity. I do not have relationships and receive impurity, because I come after all of this. I was resurrected as Jesus Christ. So when you call upon Jesus Christ, you're calling upon the Master of Masters, the Teacher of Angels. And it's at that level, at that communication, at that way of allowing energy to go out to people. That's the influence that allows you to cure this problem. Because the problem is greed, selfishness. What ticked me off the most, and everybody saw it, was when I walked into the temple and there were all these people with money and selling things. And they were changing money, and they were selling people, and they were selling objects, and they were sacrificing animals, and all of this was going on in the temple. All of it, So you can just imagine what that meant to me. I had enough problems with my mother. And if you read in the Bible, I completely disowned her. It wasn't because I was angry, it's because she was expressing lies that weren't true and trying to say that I was her son, and I wasn't her son. She knew that. She knew that I was an immaculate conception and I was not her son. She was more my daughter than my mother. Just as is everyone. So to put me in position of having my daughter to become my mother, is completely backwards and very satanic. So it put me into a lot of difficulty, a lot of trouble in every relationship that I had around me, was due to that delusion of grandeur. And that's a causal problem. So in my work, I do everything I can to release people from this pride. The influence of being attached to money, being attached to what you think you're supposed to do in life. You're supposed to go to a school, or you're supposed to be these things your parents think you're supposed to do. All those things, no one really knows whether or not those are the things you should be doing. But when it comes down to Christ, yeah, and under the influence of Christ, we're going to learn that the influence of Christ is to teach us to live in moderation, live simply, yeah, to not be taken up by people who are greedy and full of fame and full of money and those paths that they've taken and that have attained certain gifts that they call gifts, and they're not, yeah, they're misinformation, yeah. And at all times, we are getting poorer and poorer and poorer, and more people are living in cars and sleeping on the street and in big cities or everywhere. And nothing, not a thing, is actually being done for it, except for Christ consciousness. And Christ consciousness comes in and said, build them a tiny house, yeah, build them a community, yeah, feed their bodies, yeah. Give them the opportunity to live someplace in a community, yeah, and then help them through the process of their psychological problems, yeah, rather than leaving them, looking at them, and just going, ooh, that's too icky, I don't want to get involved, where if we don't take care of this, we're always going to have a Trump. We're always going to make decisions to hire lunar lords to take care of it for ourselves, rather than us do it. When you walk down the street and you see someone in need, you should do something. Yeah? Imagine, this is all play. This is all a dream. Yeah? And God puts all of his saints on the street in tents and poor. Yeah? And they are suffering. Yeah? Because they're willing to suffer. And most of humanity fights because they don't want to suffer. And they're willing to sacrifice another person's life. They're willing to buy another person's soul and identity and do all the things they have to do to better themselves in this world rather than help another person. Yeah? So where are the saints going to be? Yeah? They're going to be put in positions to where we have to learn. Yeah? And the first thing we have to learn is that charity is in the eye of God. Yeah. If you see the need of charity, you must give. Yeah. That's a response. You are your brother's keeper. Yeah. So you have to do that. Yeah. So in my work, that's always been my thing. When I went to monasteries, they all freaked out because I have the ability very telepathically to know what's going on in a house and in a circumstance of any kind. And despite what I'm being told, I can immediately say, this is what's really going on. You do not have a house. You have, how many children? 9 children, and you don't have a refrigerator, and you don't have running water, and you don't have electricity, and you have more needs than you can even imagine. And you can't talk about them because you feel so humiliated of having such a life. Yeah. So I have to see through that. And I point every single point out. I say every single thing so that they know they don't have to say these things, so that I don't want to hurt their feelings. Yeah. You got to get compassionate like this. You got to do things so you don't hurt people's feelings when you're helping them. You got to do it that way, because you're going to not even do anything. Yeah. So it's important. So when I first started by going in and feeding people and just finding out how I can help in that way. Yeah. So all throughout my life, I've always given money and given whatever anybody needs. Yeah. But when it comes down to on the spiritual side of things, I don't like spending my time teaching and doing things that are what's expected. I do things on the side. I do things that foster charity. Yeah, that fosters the ability for us to touch the people who are the poorest, people who no one takes care of. Yeah, absolutely nobody. Yeah, and so I try, and all my sangha or myself and anybody who's associated with me, our work is to try and take care of that particular level. And in doing that, we change the causal field. Yeah, you don't know what really brings about change, but I have certain chakras and qualities that if people follow my simple action, like the action of charity, and people follow through on that and continue doing that, then we immediately begin grounding out certain virtues inside of ourselves that are not existent. They're just they're so far from existent in humanity, but they're very simple things, really, really simple things. So what I do is I perform charity by the action of a dharma center, or a monastery. And in doing that, like in Glastonbury, I ask my Sangha, make sandwiches, and then take them out and give them to poor people, give them to people who have no money, no food, and you'll see them, they're sitting on the street, they have nothing, and the moment you do that, they come out of the woodwork, even in the middle of isolation, and they'll find their way to you and be fed, but they're being blessed by prasadam. You're actually touching the lowest of the lows, which means you're touching the highest of the highs. You're curing the curse, because the curse is that everybody walks by, and that is a collective consciousness. A collective consciousness, that's the curse, So to eliminate that, one of us, such as Christ, needs to be the one who stands up and performs all the right behaviors of a human being. So I've been doing that since birth, but I have a lot more. I have a lot more of virtuous qualities and characteristics that can move humanity into lifestyle. So right now it's mainly just charity. It's mainly trying to get people, like in this viral situation, trying to get people to not listen to Trump, who is pushing people to think, well, you got to get back to your job, and you got to get back to your life, and you got to get back to your football games, and you need to get back to your gatherings, and all those things, where in reality masses of people are going, I'm not really that interested in getting back with gatherings and stuff. My life costs a whole lot less than what it did before this, and it's likely I probably could live in a much smaller place now that I realize what it's like to have nothing, and not be able to get anything, and be really limited in satisfying what I think is my needs, and kind of find out you really don't have that many needs. So by the end of this 3 or 4 month cycle, large masses of people are going to come out of this with a different common sense. And it's going to be driven by the first 2 initiations that are waking up in humanity to suffering, by masses of people becoming homeless, people who had jobs all of a sudden didn't have jobs, people who had businesses all of a sudden had no businesses that could be opened, and no employees that could get employed. So everybody's not on homeless, but they're locked in their home. Now they can't get out of their home. And you got a family of 8 or a family of 9, and no one's going to school, and the husband's not going to work, and and you're on everybody's back. And you got to really raise your heart up to get through that process. Because you're going to be driven by this Trump guy, who, even though he's telling you with one side of his face is going, now everybody be safe, wear your mask, do all the right things, stay in, stay isolated. On the other side, he has this horn that's going, get out there, get liberated, don't let this shit hold you down, you got rights, don't listen to that guy over there. And that's him he's talking about. So it is a very strange thing, It's like the king's got no clothes, he's got no brains, he's got no kingdom. And that's what you have to realize, is that the kingdom, the humane kingdom, really doesn't exist. It's controlled by demons. So that kingdom has fallen. You don't have that kingdom. Everything in that kingdom is all based on a dollar. Yeah? Your mineral kingdom is based on the dollar. Everything that you can buy from there is restricted. And laws are placed upon it so that it could be absorbed and used and abused, and that's destroying ecology. So everything I first talked about the ecosystem, about how we're all one, from the bugs to the dirt, to the plants, to the animals, and that we're missing this one element, yeah? It's because we are abusing all the elements. And the holy elements will not come apart into this play. They won't play any part of it. Yeah? They have to stay on their own in the higher consciousness of our higher mind and wait through light and possibility to become part of our existence, where we will have absolutely reliable energy due to Levitron. We won't have to work so hard with the electron to get that to work because we have Levitron. And if we don't have Levitron, we don't understand that the electron works by gravity. And Levitron controls the gravity. And that's all done through our mind. It's through good karma, meritorious energy, prana, prasadam. Yeah? So if we're led by a bunch of witches and warlocks who are vegetarians, and they're telling us, what kind of person are you? If you count how many cows you eat, you can count how much pollution you put in the air, and how many trees have to be, that's so intellectual witchery. Yeah? The same thing as the same witch who would take an herb here and the eye of newt, and some dog shit, and measure it out and put it in a cauldron and give it to you. That's mathematics. Yeah? That's real intellectuality. And it's higher than your mind. It has control over elements that you don't have. So these are your hierarchy. Yeah? These witches that are creating these spirit formulas. Yeah? And they're all thought forms. Yeah? One's vegetarianism. Yeah? One is vegan. All these things, then, they have to do with your diet. Because they have to control your freedom. Yeah? Your ability to live in the ecosystem as a human being and not separate from it. Where those witches literally want you to separate from all the animals, curse them, express your curse that's inside you from those witches and express it to the animals. That ends all prasadam. Yeah? That ends the soul in the animal. That ends our heart relationship to the animal. Yeah? If we don't keep ourselves in the ecosystem and working in the normal elemental way that comes with nature, then we're messing with nature. And the outcome of it is that we're not going to get the nature that we're meant to have. And we're all going to go, why are there rich people and why are there poor people and why are there diseases and why are we suffering from a virus and how are we going to... It's all intellectual. Yeah? And it's all based on the same lower mind bullshit that comes through witchcraft. Yeah? So to get rid of that, you've got to really let go of what you think is real. You really do. Yeah, because this is a dream. And you need to foster the influences of high spiritual divine will. Yeah? Divine will. The ability to move mountains. The ability to wish for the change in the world and watch that change take place. Yeah? See evil speaking out of Trump and watch tens of millions of people see the same evil. And watch him fall all over the place as laws he literally breaks become recognized. Where before, he would just cover them up with, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, that doesn't affect me. I'm president. No, no, not that law. No, we're not coming to court. Nope, don't need to do that. Nope. Yeah. All those things are part of elements, part of will. And he has a lot of will, being the satanic origin that he is, and the glamour that he is. He's the highest person on planet Earth. Can you imagine that? You've given him the highest position, the more power than any living human being on earth. Yeah, greater than Christ, greater than God. Yeah, that's where he sits. The President of the United States is the holiest position that is meant to be fulfilled. Yeah, and to do that, it takes true sense of compassion toward the welfare of humanity, and the ability to use these elements that represent the kingdom of humanity, that fosters the kingdom of humanity, to move toward the kingdom of the soul. Yeah, they literally are representatives from the kingdom of the soul, lifting up the kingdom of humanity. That's who's supposed to be president. That's designed that way. Our first president was that way. Several of our presidents were that way. Yeah. But this dark process of, wanting slavery, and simply because it's cheap, simply because we believe these creatures are not human beings and they're animals from monkeys, and we still have that thought that we're human beings and we evolved from monkeys. And if we continue carrying that thought, then we're fulfilling every witchcraft thought form building idea. And we'll never understand that there used to be 30-foot tall people on this planet. Yeah. And there used to be people that had abilities beyond your wildest imagination, which is how they built the pyramid and how they got stones in place the way they did. We don't have the technology to do that. It had to have been another kingdom. Yeah. We are the kingdom of humanity, and that's all stupid people who could barely put metal together to create, erector sets and stick with that. Build cars and have them be fossil fuel and stick with that. Never evolve past it because of these lunar lords making it impossible for us to advance, whether it be the Catholic Church or presidents or kings. They all are very set on the fact that the kingdom of humanity must remain slaves. Stupid, ignorant people that buy products and can be oriented toward their desire body and programmed to do that. Yeah? Just by, paying $100,000 to someone who can't sing, but they look pretty. And you can get them to act. Out of 50 of them, you find one that can act and has the facial features it takes to make $1 million by having someone else lip sing and do backup singing, and do a lot of vibrational, synthesizer stuff in the microphone. So it sounds like, Swift can actually sing. Tyler Swift and all the rest of them. They can't sing. Couldn't sing when they started. They can't sing now. Yeah? They can't really carry a note. They can't really write a song. Yeah? If they can play an instrument, it's only what they just learned. It's mechanical. Yeah? It's not, the whole process is set up, whether it be dancers or entertainment or movies, it's a lie. Yeah? And Kardashians, they do absolutely nothing, and they're the richest of the bunch. They do absolutely nothing. But they are your candy. It's your candy. It's your drug. Yeah? Yeah. And as long as you continue going to Walmart and you continue going to all these places that you're moved to do, yeah, then the finances go into the pocket of enslaving little tiny kids to make tennis shoes for the Kardashians, or for other rich people who need to do their thing, yeah, and be well known for what they're making, but they're not doing anything good for humanity. People are not being taken care of. Yeah. I spend everywhere I'm at, I called the local church, I called the local center that does food for the needy, that does boxes and provides food and provides chickens or turkeys for Christmas time, and Meals on Wheels, and church that collects from all the churches around and feeds people. And I contact those people and find out what you're seeing, how you doing, And they're all go, not very well. We were, but we aren't, and we would do a lot more, but, right now we're just barely making it. Yeah. So I make sure every single one of those places get exactly what they need to operate at the highest level. And when it comes Christmas time, how many chickens or turkeys or hams do you need? Yeah. I'm not saying, I'll give you a little money to buy a little potatoes and gravy and canned ham, Whatever they need. Yeah. I just ask, and then I work out the process of the money. Because it's not about money. It's about need. Yeah. And then we go to another place and says, what's your gifts like for kids? Well, we're not a whole lot, Well, what do you need? And we pump it up, making sure all the kids get gifts at Christmas time. Yeah. And we do this in Glastonbury, and we do this in Omaha, and we do this, in Nepal. Yeah. So I'll show you just this one here. This is Nepal. Good on Nepal. Yeah, so we take care of a whole lot. There's monasteries, the biggest university, Drepung University, several of the Compsons, which are the top Compsons that have the highest incarnated masters, all students of mine, and all the Compsons are mine. And so we pay for them on a weekly, monthly basis, making sure they have food, support, and then all throughout Nepal, we have clinics, many clinics that are all free clinics, and we provide, everything is free. Yeah, we provide. And when the earthquakes came, houses were destroyed, and we designed houses and found materials that we could build and create houses for people who are in need. So we made it possible for at least 30 families to have homes within a year's time, and safe structural houses that won't collapse under an earthquake. So they really, it changed people who are in a terrible, terrible place. So we this is just part of what a real monastic reality is like. And I taught this. I've been teaching this. I always teach this to all my students. That we do alms. We do we do prasadam. We do not practice a strict type of diet other than health and hygiene. We make sure that the food that we eat isn't riddled with bugs, and it stays in a refrigerator, and that the crop is organic and it's grown in certain ways, in a better way. All those things, everyone needs to do this. And that's monastic. Whether you are in my monastery, you don't have to be. This is all done in life. So if we behave like this, then we will instill in ourselves elements that allows us the opportunity to be caring and sharing for other people. And that will dramatically change the outcome of the level of incarnations of people when they incarnate. If we raise the level, which is what I'm doing, every single person, they're getting tools and they're meditating, they're doing soul therapy, and they die and they come back. And these are all going to be grown-ups and kids and everything, and they're going to vote. They're going to make decisions in life. They're going to be doing things that are correct, and they're going to be monastic as children. And they're going to grow up. By the time they're 18, they're going to be fully in a second initiation, completely free from having to go through the trouble of the first two initiations. They're clear because of the previous life they had with me. So this work is purifying people as they're growing through this life, and they die and they come back. We have a cure that's coming into society, into humanity, and people will reincarnate and reincarnate in the kingdom of the soul. And even though they're in this world in the kingdom of the soul. And they immediately are so caring and so sharing and so optimistic despite all conditions that go on in the world. They don't want to hear negative shit. They don't want to hear all this kind of rattly, loud noises and everything. It doesn't come with their nature. They're too sensitive. They're heart-centered. Everything is above chakras rather than lower chakras. So they're very easy to care for other people and reach down and help people with strength and courage and understanding, with an ability to work things out. So that's our future. These are all the people that are dying now are going to reincarnate and reincarnate as those kind of people. They're not going to be Kardashian lovers or major TV watchers or all those kind of things. They're going to be people who are looking for the truth and represent the truth, and not have to worry about whether or not they can graduate from high school or graduate from college. They want skills, and they come with skills and abilities, and they're going to push with their will toward getting those skills honed by the time they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. Because that's when the will comes in, and that's when people just go, all fine and dandy, Mom, but that's not what I want. This is more I'm interested in. I'm gonna build my own house. I'm gonna be a carpenter. I'm gonna start laying bricks right now and learn how to make bricks. And all these creative aspects are gonna come with these people rather than dependency on the material plane. I don't know how to fix a doorknob. I don't know all this. I don't know. Doesn't come with these new kids. I'm willing to learn, and I have the ability to simplify things so that I'm not having to, keep changing things left and right in order to think I need a better world. Or in reality, the things that you're getting are much more from the past, much more simplified, And you find that these are things, the only things I need in a day. Rather than all this clutter in your mind, deluding you to think you need many things, or going to do many things, but it's not all true. Not at all. 99% of it is bullshit. Yeah? And really, your truth is that you're going to wake up. You know, you're going to go do something, and it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen the next day and the next day. And if you really calm down, you're going to find out your lifestyle. And you're going to simplify that lifestyle, and it's become monastic. And you find yourself in that. Yeah? You find hobbies, you find interests, you find things that you want to put your time into, rather than 90% of the time spent doing things you don't want to do. Yeah. So all of things, everything, yeah, in life has to do with whether or not we're applying charity. Yeah. And if charity is the mainstay, charity is the main frequency of what we do, then we can heal this thing. So that's why I offer for people, everybody, you know, in time can become monk and nun. Yeah. And in that process, in their consciousness, they lose their identity toward the money, the goal aspect of what is money, and how I'm not going to make it in this life, and how am I going to retire, and all these different things. Where in a monastic reality, you're in a group. You're not in a lone thing, and your dad dies, and that's the end of your dad. Your mom dies, and that's the end of your mom, you know. Now, you know, your friends are dying, and oh my God, now I'm in an old folks' home, you know. But in a monastic reality, or in the future of our monastic world, we're going to care and share for each other. And we're not going to end up people homeless. We're not going to end up people so sick and die, and like it's a curse we're in the middle of. Yeah? Because we're going to reduce the curse. Yeah? The influence of people calling upon Jesus Christ, knowing that they have to take a personal relationship, and that they can't be living a fanatic life of a vegetarian or anything fanatical. And they need to really simplify themselves to a point to where they can be well-rounded and wholesome. Yeah? In doing that, they raise themselves up outside of greed and all the things that are affecting humanity. Yeah? Yeah, so there's one of the biggest things that's happening in the process of the virus is the illusion that comes from our president, him saying one thing and then doing another, you know, and he's not alone in this. You know, all the countries that have the highest rate of epidemic, the highest rate of the head of the country going, no problem, you know, we're Mexican, we don't get it, you know, we don't get this virus, it's not ours. You know, that's what they said in Mexico. Yeah, don't worry about it, go to work, don't worry about it, it's just everybody's going to get it and then it'll go away, don't worry about it. Just like Trump, it's like the flu, and we're going to get it and it's just going to go away, don't worry about it. Nothing stops, keep everything churning along. That's what they did in Mexico. Now they're the highest death, the highest number of people. And that really puts us in a really bad place, because this is the border that doesn't have a wall. This is the border to where we have a joker who says, I'm going to close the borders and we're not going to let anybody in. Well, it's not true. He didn't close the borders. He said he closed the borders to China, but he didn't close the borders to China. Thousands of people went flying in from China to America after he said he closed the borders. All you need to know is be interested is the truth. If you look up the truth, just type it in. Thousands of people crossed over the border from China after Trump closed the border. And you'll find article after article after article and proof that that never happened. Yeah. And then not long ago he says, well, I'm going to close the border to Mexico because, boy, that's got to be a very dangerous situation. All these people in Mexico coming over with the virus and everything. He never did that. Yeah. So here's what's going on in Mexico. And this is a very dangerous situation, because they have the highest number of people who are dying from the virus, the very highest, and they're on our border. Yeah, and they're in San Diego. And they're walking across the border without check or stopping. Whew. By the thousands every day. By the thousands. Just wonderful. And that's because, according to Trump, we need to make sure our economy is flowing. So in reality, we can't have all of our, gardeners and our people who do the growing and, the cutting and the planting, and that's a big economy. We can't be shutting that down. So it's not a thing about, them thinking about whether or not they're doing the right thing for people.
Will happen to us.
And while the death toll continues to rise in Mexico City, there's little talk of a flattening curve. Its mayor announcing that businesses will begin to reopen June the 1st.
Anyway, sooner or later, we are all going to get infected by coronavirus. We all have to return to normal.
Doctors here also say they're not just fighting the virus, but widespread skepticism. Dr. Juan Jose is a community doctor. Patients come here, he says, and I tell them, it's probably COVID. They say no, the national government made that up.
Now that's what Eric Trump is telling people. That the side of the opposites, or whatever you call these people, that they themselves are making it up and causing the numbers to be in such a way that people do not go to voting, or they don't go to group, activities. And it's all part of a process of just in the process of Trump. You can imagine that the influence is not just greed, but the influence is his nature, and his very nature is to be hypocritical and lie, So if we have Mexico on the border, and we have a terrible situation coming in, and they have more deaths, they're not burying anybody anymore. They are cremating by the thousands every day, and they have absolutely no space for burying. So the largest crematorium you could ever imagine is running 24/7. Every day. And then all the people from Mexico, Tijuana, the one place they want to go is America. And they really want to get across there. And 9/10 of them have the virus. Because no one's checking. Everybody's sick in Mexico. And thousands of them are crossing the border. I'll show you this. And this is being allowed by our president under the same consciousness of the people in Mexico, and where the president is putting out the impression as though this is a political thing to smear his candidacy, to make it harder for him to become president. And that's what they're believing over in Mexico. This is a political thing. The virus doesn't really exist. We don't need to wear masks. It's not real. So those statements by mayors and by heads of Mexico are having a major effect on the masses of people in Mexico. And that same thing is happening to us here. Our heads, our one head, is making certain statements that get into the minds of people that are hearing what he's saying, and it becomes law, becomes real. Like a lot of people wanted to put Lysol in their veins. They're questioning whether or not that's the thing they should do. What would even make a person? He said, I just don't believe that happened. He didn't believe anybody would be that stupid to do such a thing. And that's where we have a problem, is that all of this is going on by government officials making stupid statements in order to protect themselves. The head of Mexico was making those statements in order to protect themselves, not the country, but themselves. Yeah. So this is the outcome here in Mexico.
And while the death toll continues to rise in Mexico City, there's little talk of a flattening curve. Its mayor announcing that businesses will begin to reopen June the 1st.
Anyway, sooner or later, we are all going to get infected by coronavirus. We all have to return to normal.
Doctors here also say they're not just fighting the virus, but widespread skepticism.
It's like they
Dr.
don't
Juan
watch the
Jose
news.
is a community doctor. Patients come here, he says, and I tell them it's probably COVID. They say no, the national government made that up. It may be difficult getting people to take the virus seriously when testing is so low. Mexico's performed relatively few, approximately 150,000 for a nation of 125 million. And on the US-Mexico border, new concerns that the virus could peak again in Tijuana.
They didn't pull me aside. They don't stop you. They don't do anything.
Despite an agreement between the US and Mexico in March to limit traffic between the two countries, thousands of people have reportedly continued to cross the border daily.
Exista tanto tránsito en la garita.
That there is so much traffic at the crossing makes me afraid. We are going to have another wave of COVID cases in a couple weeks.
Like elsewhere, COVID-19 has had a disproportionate effect on the most vulnerable. Those who work in this emergency operations center say the crisis is not even close to being over.
Somehow we have to solve the immediate issue. It's the kind of thing we're doing here. But the pandemic emergency, it's not going to end. Not next week, not next month, probably not even this year.
Yep. So the confusion of mind and the confusion of simple thinking, is the biggest problem, and we have no idea that a great deal of prejudice and bias is held in paganism, and that paganism could be a Muslim, it could be a Hebrew, it could be a Christian. It's just a person that believes their way is the only way. And that's pagan. So there's no truth in it because there's 90 other people standing over here saying a totally different thing. And they totally believe it. So each one is holding a strong position of the way they believe things are. But if you look into them, you'll find that they play magic. They do magic, and that they're instilling spells inside of magic, conjuring spells, whether it be Hebrewism, Muslims, Christians, they all do spells. And then they make holy days that to be a surface point where the spell is focused, like Easter, and everybody's going Easter, and then you see an Easter bunny, and where are you going to relate to that? Where does Easter coming in and a bunny come in relationship to Jesus Christ going on a cross, saving our souls? How does that work? But yet there it is. There it is. We're giving little kids Easter eggs, and and we got an Easter bunny, and all this kind of stuff goes on. But it has meaning behind it. We're actually taking relationship to Lucifer, the egg. That egg. Now, if you study the Dalai Lama, you'll find that the Dalai Lama is recognized by his thought form reality of the egg. Which came first, chicken or the egg? In this case, it's the egg. And then that reality, that thought form, is a thought form of holding bias to something. Whether you know it to be the truth or not, you're holding hard. This is the way it is. So now it's all created out of a genetic offspring. We're all created out of an egg, or we're a monkey, or we come from these belief systems. Some kind of strong belief system. But the truth is, we don't know anything. That's the tree of knowledge. We have no idea what the truth is, But the more we get into the higher zone of being with a master, or, having teachings from the master, then you receive a whole other esoteric thought form, as to what is this and how does that work. I mean, it's so far different than the concrete world that is thought, and when we explain things, because it's all based on paganism, where we in paganism we get a strong belief that this is what it is. It is what it is. So now we got Easter and we have no idea what it is, but it is what it is. But yet we have no idea what it is. And what it really is Satanism. Satanism. And literally using, we put Jesus on a cross. And now we control your reincarnation. And you're an animal. You're an animal. You come from an egg. You're an animal. None of you are manifested from the mind of God. Chicken or the egg, Alpha or the Omega. No, it is Alpha and Omega, not separate. Not chicken or the egg. Yeah? It ain't even a question. Yeah? But in witchcraft it is. Male or female? Is the girl the god or is the guy the god? That's witchcraft. Chicken or the egg. Yeah? And turning it into Easter, it's Eastar, not Easter. Yeah? There is no definition behind Easter. Yeah? Other than the fact that it represents Eastar, which is a fallen angel. Mainline fallen angel in the Bible that talks about when creation was made manifest, Ishtar wants to destroy God and is sent by Lucifer to find God in any incarnation and destroy him, just like what happened to Jesus, and up comes the killing of all the boys. Yeah, in every life of the avatar, the focus is to destroy and kill the avatar. Wipe the avatar out. Put the avatar in so much chaos, you'll never even know the avatar existed. Yeah. Yeah. So it's all that in the process. You have no idea that the words you're using, the ceremonies you are in, the religions that you believe in are satanic. Yeah. Even the days of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, pagan. All pagan. Yeah? There isn't a thing, even our thought, that we have to work for somebody. We have to be employed. We are not by nature provided by God. We're not by nature. We are so provided, each one of us is so provided, our abundance is overwhelming. Overwhelming. And there is nothing that has anything to do with money or all this kind of stuff that we talk about. Yeah? Because our actions are to provide our needs. And it takes so little time, so little effort, with so many people, with so much gifts, that our needs are provided for by an hour or two of effort a day. And the rest is enjoyment. Music, carpentry, dealing with the plants, learning herbology, eating properly, enjoying the animals, giving us eggs, all the cycles that we live in our simple life, down to our simple life, that is the kingdom of the soul. Yeah, and we do not have the kingdom of the soul, but it exists amongst us. Yeah, so the key thing is to heal the curse, heal the process of the curse, and that's only done through Jesus Christ, because every single thing in your life, every thought, every time you look out, every time you put a clothes on, every time you look at a label, yeah, it is satanic. There is children being used and abused behind that label, and you can't feel it. Yeah, you can't identify with it. Yeah. So if we move through this process, we will slowly but surely simplify our lifestyle to the point to where we know, oh, I only need this in a day. I need just so much of meat, just so much of vegetables, just so much of this. Oh, I can grow that. I guess I don't need to go to the store. I guess I don't need a job. Yeah? Those are all things that in truth we are provided so abundantly that it's impossible to be in the world that we're in. Literally impossible. So the only way it can happen is through Satanism, creating another existing world right on top of the one we're in. And we're living in that one. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, all right. So, here comes our puja. So we're going to do the Great Invocation. All right, so just repeat after me. I invoke the power, the love, and the wisdom of my ashram, soul, and monad. To guide me into the right activity in the plan. To clarify and stimulate my mind. To transform and transmute my feelings and emotions. To energize and vitalize and heal my physical and etheric body. So there is a normal flow of energy in my physical and etheric body. Through this day and every day, I ask this in the name of the Christ to serve the One. All in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Let the forces of light bring illumination to mankind. Let the spirit of peace be spread abroad. May humanity of goodwill everywhere meet in a spirit of cooperation. May forgiveness on the part of all mankind be the keynote at this time. Let power attend the efforts of the great ones. So let it be, and help us do our part.
Okay, take a deep breath.
secret place come forth. And come, say, come forth, O Mighty One. Let the souls of mankind awaken to the light. And may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of the woe has come. Come forth, O Mighty One. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O Mighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O Mighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of mankind. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of mankind. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, a purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of mankind, let the plan of love and light work out. And may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. The sons of men are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not to hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form, and let life and all events, and bring forth to light the love which underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavage be gone. Let love prevail. Let all mankind love.
Okay, just relax. Okay, open your eyes. So there's a lot of things humanity have gone through for their evolution. And we developed technologies and we developed certain things, advancements, all necessary to get us to a place of conscious understanding. Very necessary. Yeah. So, but now we're getting to the place to where we can apply our conscious understanding. Yeah. And in that we can know that if we were to live in a forestry area and we were to get trees and choose those trees to be fruit trees and trees that provided food and shade and worked within your ecosystem of say 5 acres to 10 acres, and you have a small house and it's not far from a stream and that's not far from a lake, and the animals that you have are under animal husbandry. They have chickens and they live and feed together, and you move their little cages for them to eat naturally, and all this kind of stuff happens really naturally, and it doesn't take much for a person to maintain their chicken and their cow, and an alpaca and a sheep or two, and and have all kinds of things that you could work with food-wise, and things that you can make clothes with, and just those small number of things is all you really need. If you have a fishing pole, you head for the stream, you head for the lake. If you need other larger fish, you go to the ocean, and you come back and you have enough food for a week or two, and you don't have to start an industry to provide the whole world with food, if we took care of ourselves. If we all did these things, and we now have the technology and it's very efficient, we can have a freezer and we can have solar and we can have heating and we can have all these really easy things that cost us little to absolutely nothing, to where it provides more than what we need. Even the fuel we can get for biomass, because we have to eat, we have to shit, we do these things. That goes into a great big container, that turns into methane, and we turn on the stove and bang, we got gas. We can run vehicles on that stuff. So that's just in one house. Yeah. Instead of eating a whole bunch of vegetables, you could be eating sprouts. Yeah. Alfalfa sprouts, bean sprouts, really nice. Rather than turn the legume into a whole bowl of legumes, you can turn them into sprouts and eat them live, and mix that in with a salad, and that in itself has so much probiotic, so much nutrients, so much life is in it. It's uncooked, yeah. And if you eat that just once a day, you'll be amazed how that does, what it does to your bowels and your kidneys and your liver and all of your body. Yeah, because it just completely, it gives you the nutrition you can't get from a vitamin, nutrition you can't get from many things. You can't get it from fruit, you can't get it from other things, but you can get it from sprouts. Sprouts is the finest way, most eco-friendly way to go about your diet. And then choose from those things to continue growing and become a plant and on to the vegetable that you're going to eat. But you can eat that same vegetable as a sprout. And you have a higher variety of nutrients that's going on. You could do all this in your home, yeah? One cow, a nice garden, a greenhouse, a small place, yeah? And you could feed a family of 4 or 5, very easily on a 5-acre piece of land. And if you choose to keep it natural, allow yourself to continue living in a forest, don't clear the land, because we're not doing that, yeah? We're going to grow back the trees, we're going to grow our trees, we're going to have things that it takes to create the nature that we need to live in order to have a prosperous life. To have a prosperous life, you need to live with nature. You need to practice animal husbandry. You have to practice gardening, yeah? You have to live that life, and that way everything else is cut. The whole life that I just talked about is gone, yeah? Because you don't need to go to the grocery store. You don't need to have products made for you, because you found, well, I like soy, so make soy. Grow soy. Make soy. Enjoy. Yeah? All of it's really easy if we learn that everything could be grown and everything could be produced in our own little home. Yeah? And we don't need to make a whole bunch and sell it on the street, because we really don't need that income. Yeah? There's so many other ways to make an income. Your mind alone, your intellectual ability, your higher mind to work things out for other people as a consultant, is a great way to gain income. Yeah. And that's how most people are going to do it, is by sharing their skills that they learn from their life and becoming masters at these things. And people who are not quite at that, they need a little helping hand. So you make your YouTube video, you getting $900 a month, and you survive on that very easily. Yeah? And you don't have to worry about retirement or anything like that. Yeah? There's a system that we're in already that we can put into, apply it. We have our electric vehicle, we never have to buy another one probably for the rest of our life. Yeah? If we build the right house and we put the right things on it, we will die in that house. Yeah? And we'll live a long life in that house. And we won't live it in order to be tied down by the house, under a big mortgage, and the house just becomes deteriorated because we can't maintain it, because we know nothing about the house. We can't fix the sink. We can't make the door not wobble. We can't get the doorknob on. No, you got to get beyond all that. You have to know how to put the doorknob on. You need to get all these things in your life so that you can step into the kingdom of humanity, the kingdom of the soul. And that's the one that fixes things, does things, builds their own home, establishes everything. Just like I built this monastery. Yeah, it's the last thing on anybody's mind. I can build houses, monasteries, cars, anything, and so can you. Yeah, so we don't need mass production. We need to individualize our soul and provide for ourselves so much that we have abundance to teach and help other people to do the same thing. Okay? Enjoy. That's it. Have a nice day.